The execution was scheduled for noon. Dr. Elena Rodriguez checked her watch as she walked across the dusty grounds of Thornfield Ranch in rural Montana. In her 15 years as a veterinarian, she had performed countless euthanizations, but never one that sat so heavily on her conscience. The weight of the syringe in her medical bag felt like carrying death itself. Ravi stood motionless in the reinforced steel pen, his massive brown frame casting a shadow across the dry earth. The 3-year-old Brahman bull was magnificent, nearly 2,000 pounds of pure muscle and power, with intelligent dark eyes that seemed to hold secrets. His cream-colored coat gleamed in the morning sun, and despite everything that had happened, there was a regal dignity in his posture that commanded respect. Ranch owner Vincent Thornfield approached with heavy boots that crunched against the gravel. His weathered face was set in grim determination, but Elena could see the conflict in his pale blue eyes. Behind him walked his foreman, Rick Butler, whose left arm still hung in a sling from the incident 3 weeks ago. "You sure about this, Vincent?" Dr. Rodriguez asked, her voice barely concealing her reluctance. "Ravi's shown no aggressive behavior since the incident. Maybe we should consider other options." Butler's face darkened immediately. "Other options? That monster nearly killed me. If I hadn't been fast enough to dive over the fence, I'd be dead right now. The beast is unpredictable and dangerous." Vincent ran a calloused hand through his graying hair. "Elena, I've got insurance breathing down my neck, the state agricultural board demanding action, and my wife terrified to let our grandkids visit. I can't afford the liability. Ravi's got to go." What none of them knew was that 12-year-old Lily Chen had been watching from the shadows of the old barn. The small girl with shoulder-length black hair and worn sneakers had been staying at Thornfield Ranch for the past month while her mother, Dr. Jennifer Chen, worked as a temporary veterinarian covering for Dr. Rodriguez's vacation. Lily hadn't spoken a word since the house fire that claimed her father's life 8 months ago, but her silence didn't mean she wasn't listening. Lily had discovered Ravi during her first week at the ranch. While exploring the property alone, she had wandered to the back pastures where the breeding bulls were kept. Most children would have been terrified of the massive animals, but Lily felt drawn to them. When she saw Ravi standing apart from the others, something in his posture reminded her of herself, isolated, misunderstood, carrying invisible wounds. She had started visiting him every day, sitting by the fence in comfortable silence. Ravi would always approach when he saw her, lowering his enormous head close to the rails as if trying to bridge the gap between their worlds. In those moments, Lily felt less alone than she had since her father's death. 3 weeks ago, everything changed. Butler had been conducting his weekly inspection of the bullpens when it happened. According to his report, Ravi had charged him without warning, forcing him to leap over the fence to avoid being trampled. The ranch hands found Butler unconscious with a dislocated shoulder and several bruised ribs. Ravi was immediately confined to the isolation pen, awaiting his death sentence. But Lily had been there that day. Hidden behind a hay bale, she had seen what really happened. Butler hadn't been inspecting anything. He had been deliberately provoking Ravi with a cattle prod, jabbing the electric device through the fence rails and laughing as the bull backed away in pain and confusion. When Ravi finally had enough and charged toward the fence, Butler's escape hadn't been as graceful as he claimed. He had tripped over his own feet and fallen, injuring himself in his panic. Lily had wanted to tell someone the truth, but the words wouldn't come. They never came anymore. The fire had stolen her voice along with her father, leaving her trapped in a world of silence while injustice played out before her eyes. Now, as Dr. Rodriguez prepared the lethal injection, Lily pressed herself against the barn wall, her small fists clenched in helpless frustration. She could see Ravi in his pen, standing with quiet dignity as the humans discussed his fate. The bull's eyes seemed to search the ranch grounds, and for a moment, Lily could have sworn he was looking directly at her. "Let's get this over with," Butler said, his voice carrying a satisfaction that made Lily's stomach turn. "The sooner that animal is gone, the safer we'll all be." Dr. Rodriguez loaded the syringe with the barbiturate solution, her hands steady despite her inner turmoil. "Vincent, I need you to know that in my professional opinion, this bull shows no signs of inherent aggression. Something triggered that charge, and without knowing what it was, it doesn't matter now," Vincent interrupted, though his voice lacked conviction. "The decision's been made. My family's safety comes first." Ravi watched the humans approach his pen with calm acceptance. There was no fear in his dark eyes, no desperate struggle against his fate. He simply stood there, magnificent and resigned, as if he understood that the world had judged him and found him wanting. From her hiding place, Lily felt something breaking inside her chest. The same helpless rage she had felt watching her father disappear into the flames now burned in her throat. She had failed to save her father, failed to speak when it mattered most. But maybe, just maybe, she could find her voice to save Ravi. As Dr. Rodriguez opened the gate to Ravi's pen, Lily made a decision that would change everything. She stepped out from behind the barn and began walking toward the group of adults, her bare feet silent on the dusty ground. Her heart hammered against her ribs, and her throat felt like it was closing, but she kept moving. For the first time in 8 months, Lily Chen was going to speak. The sound of small footsteps on gravel made Dr. Rodriguez pause just as she was about to enter Ravi's pen. Vincent Thornfield turned first, his weathered face creasing with confusion, as he spotted the small figure approaching them across the ranch yard. "Lily?" he called out, his voice carrying a mixture of concern and bewilderment. "What are you doing here, sweetheart? This isn't a place for children right now." The 12-year-old girl continued walking toward them with determined steps, her dark eyes fixed on the group of adults. Her mother, Dr. Jennifer Chen, had mentioned that Lily hadn't spoken since the traumatic house fire, but there was something different about her posture now, a resolve that hadn't been there before. Butler shifted uncomfortably, his injured arm twitching in its sling. "Someone should get the kid out of here. She doesn't need to see this." But Lily kept walking until she stood directly in front of Dr. Rodriguez, her small frame dwarfed by the adults surrounding her. She looked up at the veterinarian with eyes that held far too much knowledge for someone her age, then slowly turned her gaze to Butler. For a long moment, silence stretched across the ranch yard. Ravi stood motionless in his pen, as if sensing that something significant was about to happen. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. Then, in a voice rusty from months of disuse, Lily spoke her first words since her father's death. "He's lying." The two simple words fell like stones into still water, sending ripples of shock through the group. Dr. Rodriguez nearly dropped her medical bag, while Vincent's mouth fell open in surprise. Butler's face went pale, then quickly flushed red with anger. "What did you say?" Butler demanded, taking a step toward the girl. "You don't know what you're talking about, kid." But Lily didn't back down. Her voice grew stronger with each word, as if speaking was awakening something that had been sleeping inside her. "I saw what really happened 3 weeks ago. You hurt Ravi first." Vincent knelt down to Lily's eye level, his voice gentle but urgent. "Lily, sweetheart, what do you mean? What did you see?" "I was hiding behind the hay bales in the back pasture," Lily said, her words coming faster now as the dam of silence finally burst. "I go there to watch the bulls sometimes. They're not scary like people think. They're just sad and lonely like me." Dr. Rodriguez set down her medical bag and moved closer, her professional instincts telling her that something crucial was about to be revealed. "What exactly did you see, Lily?" "Mr. Butler wasn't inspecting anything," Lily continued, her dark eyes never leaving the foreman's face. "He had one of those electric stick things. He kept poking Ravi through the fence, laughing when Ravi tried to get away from it." Butler's face had turned a dangerous shade of red. "That's ridiculous. The kid is obviously traumatized and confused. You can't believe the fantasies of a child who hasn't spoken in months." But Lily pressed on, her voice gaining confidence as she finally released the truth she had been carrying. "Ravi didn't charge at you to hurt you. He was trying to make you stop hurting him. And you didn't jump over the fence like a hero. You tripped over your own feet when you tried to run away." The silence that followed was deafening. Vincent looked between his foreman and the small girl, his mind racing as he processed the implications of her words. Dr. Rodriguez felt her stomach drop as she realized she had been about to kill an innocent animal. "She's lying!" Butler shouted, his composure finally cracking. "I've worked this ranch for 15 years. You're going to believe some mute kid over me?" "Why would she lie?" Dr. Rodriguez asked quietly, her medical training making her excellent at reading people. "What would Lily gain from making this up?" Vincent stood slowly, his face grave as he studied Butler's defensive posture. "Rick, I've known you for a long time, but I've also watched Lily these past weeks. She's not the kind of child who makes up stories." Butler's desperation was becoming more apparent by the second. "You can't seriously be considering this. That bull is dangerous. It needs to be put down." But Lily wasn't finished. She walked closer to Ravi's pen, and the massive bull immediately moved toward her, lowering his head to the fence rails. The sight of the supposedly vicious animal showing such gentle behavior toward a child spoke louder than any words. "Ravi remembers me," Lily said softly, reaching through the rails to touch the bull's broad forehead. "I've been visiting him every day since I got here. He's never hurt me. He's never hurt anyone who didn't hurt him first." Ravi's dark eyes fixed on Lily's face, and he let out a soft rumble that sounded almost like a purr. The connection between the girl and the bull was undeniable, a bond built on mutual understanding of pain and isolation. Dr. Rodriguez felt tears stinging her eyes as she watched the interaction. "Vincent, we can't go through with this. Not until we investigate what really happened." Butler sensed his carefully constructed story crumbling around him. In his panic, he made a fatal mistake. Even if the kid is telling the truth, so what? Animals need to learn their place. That bull needed to be taught a lesson. The admission hung in the air like a confession. Vincent's face hardened as the full implications of Butler's words sank in. "Rick, are you telling me you deliberately provoked one of my prize bulls?" That's not... She doesn't understand what she saw," Butler stammered, but it was too late. His moment of defensive honesty had revealed everything. Lily looked up at Vincent with eyes that held both sadness and hope. "My daddy used to say that animals can't speak for themselves, so good people have to speak for them. I couldn't speak for a long time, but I can now, and I'm speaking for Ravi." The words hit Dr. Rodriguez like a physical blow. Here was a child who had lost everything, finding her voice not for herself, but to save an innocent creature. It was the most profound act of courage and compassion she had ever witnessed. Vincent walked over to Butler, his face set in grim determination. "Rick, you're fired. Get off my property, now." "You can't do this," Butler protested. "That bull is still dangerous. The only dangerous thing here was your cruelty," Vincent replied coldly. "If I ever see you near my animals again, I'll have you arrested for animal abuse." As Butler stormed away, cursing and threatening lawsuits that would never come, Dr. Rodriguez approached Lily with deep respect in her eyes. "Lily, what you did today, it took incredible courage. You saved Ravi's life." Lily smiled for the first time since her father's death, her small hand still touching Ravi's forehead through the fence. "Daddy would have wanted me to speak up. He always said the right thing to do isn't always the easy thing to do." Ravi rumbled softly, as if expressing his gratitude in the only way he could. The massive bull that had been condemned to die was now free, saved by the voice of a small girl who had found her own freedom in saving him. The execution was canceled. Justice had finally spoken, in the clear, brave voice of a 12-year-old child who proved that sometimes the smallest voices carry the most important truths. 6 months later, the golden autumn sun painted Thornfield Ranch in warm hues of amber and copper. The Montana landscape had transformed from the harsh summer heat into a gentle, welcoming canvas that seemed to reflect the healing that had taken place within its boundaries. Lily Chen sat cross-legged in the grass beside Ravi's new pasture, a thick sketchbook balanced on her knees as she carefully drew the magnificent bull grazing peacefully among a small herd of cattle. Her black hair had grown longer, framing a face that now carried light where there had once been only shadows. Most remarkably, her voice had returned in full force. She talked constantly now, as if making up for all the months of silence. "You know, Ravi," she said conversationally, never looking up from her drawing, "Mrs. Patterson says I'm going to win the county art contest with your portrait. But I told her it's not really about winning. It's about showing people who you really are." Ravi lifted his massive head at the sound of his name, his dark eyes finding Lily with the same gentle recognition that had saved his life. The bull had grown even more magnificent in the months since his near execution, his cream-colored coat gleaming with health and his movements displaying the confidence of an animal who knew he was safe and valued. Dr. Jennifer Chen approached from the direction of the main house, carrying 2 steaming mugs of hot chocolate and wearing the peaceful expression of a mother who had watched her daughter return from the dead. The trauma specialist they had consulted explained that Lily's selective mutism had been her mind's way of protecting itself from overwhelming grief. Finding her voice to save Ravi had been the catalyst that allowed her to process her father's death and begin healing. "How's the masterpiece coming along?" Dr. Chen asked, settling down beside her daughter and offering her one of the mugs. "It's getting better," Lily replied, accepting the warm drink gratefully. "But I keep trying to capture something in his eyes. Daddy used to say that eyes are windows to the soul, and Ravi has such a beautiful soul, Doctor." Chen's throat tightened with emotion, as it did every time Lily mentioned her father without the crushing weight of grief that had once accompanied his memory. The healing process hadn't been instant or easy, but it had been steady and real. "Your father would be so proud of you," Dr. Chen said softly, "not just for finding your voice, but for using it to help someone who couldn't help himself." Vincent Thornfield walked across the pasture toward them, his weathered face creased with the kind of smile that comes from witnessing daily miracles. In the months since Butler's dismissal, the ranch had become a different place entirely. Vincent had implemented new policies for animal treatment, hired staff who shared his renewed commitment to humane practices, and had even started an educational program about proper animal care for local schools. "Mind if an old rancher joins this art session?" Vincent asked, his voice carrying the warmth that had developed in his relationship with Lily and her mother. "Of course, Mr. Thornfield," Lily said, scooting over to make room. "I was just telling Ravi about the art contest." Vincent settled down with a grunt, his joints protesting the movement, but his eyes remained bright as he watched Ravi graze contentedly. "You know, Lily, that bull has become something of a legend around these parts. People drive from 3 counties over just to see the bull that was saved by a little girl's voice." "It's not about being famous," Lily said seriously, her artistic focus never wavering from her sketch. "It's about people understanding that animals have feelings too. They can be hurt and scared and lonely just like people." Dr. Rodriguez joined them, having just finished her weekly checkup on the ranch's animals. The veterinarian had undergone her own transformation since that day 6 months ago, becoming an advocate for animal welfare and working closely with law enforcement to identify and prosecute cases of animal abuse. "How's our star patient today?" she asked, nodding toward Ravi. "Perfect health, as always," Dr. Chen replied, "though I think he enjoys the attention a little too much." As if responding to their conversation, Ravi wandered closer to the group, his massive frame moving with surprising grace. He lowered his head toward Lily, who reached out to stroke his broad forehead with the same fearless affection she had shown that first day. "You saved me too, you know," Lily whispered to the bull, her voice soft but carrying clearly in the afternoon air. "When I couldn't find my voice to help myself, I found it to help you. Daddy always said that sometimes we discover our own strength when we're fighting for someone else." Vincent wiped at his eyes with a calloused hand, not caring who saw the tears. "Lily, what you did that day, it changed more than just Ravi's life. It changed all of us. This whole ranch is different because of your courage. And it's not just here," Dr. Rodriguez added. "The story has spread throughout the veterinary community. I've had colleagues from across the country contact me about implementing better protocols for investigating alleged animal aggression. Your voice is still saving animals, even ones you'll never meet." Lily looked up from her drawing, her dark eyes shining with a maturity that came from understanding her place in a larger story. "My trauma counselor says that sometimes terrible things happen so that we can learn to help prevent terrible things from happening to others. I lost my daddy, and that was awful, but maybe losing him helped me understand how to save Ravi." Dr. Chen wrapped an arm around her daughter, marveling at the wisdom that could emerge from such young lips. "Your father would say that you've found your purpose, sweetheart." "I think I have," Lily agreed, adding final touches to her drawing. "I want to become a veterinarian like Dr. Rodriguez, but I also want to work with kids who can't speak for themselves. And I want to make sure that animals like Ravi never have to face what he faced." Ravi rumbled softly, as if expressing his approval of her plans. The sound drew laughter from the group, a warm, healing sound that carried across the pasture and seemed to settle into the very soil of the ranch. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in brilliant shades of orange and pink, Lily held up her completed drawing. The portrait captured not just Ravi's physical magnificence, but something deeper, the gentle intelligence in his eyes, the dignity in his posture, and the peaceful contentment that came from being truly seen and understood. "It's perfect," Vincent said, his voice thick with emotion. "Not perfect," Lily corrected with a small smile. "But it's true, and sometimes being true is more important than being perfect." Dr. Rodriguez checked her watch and gathered her medical bag. "I should head back to town, but I'll see you all next week. Lily, don't forget that the reporter from the agricultural magazine wants to interview you next Wednesday." "I won't forget," Lily promised. "I want to tell everyone about Ravi's story. People need to know that animals aren't just property or problems to solve. They're individuals with their own personalities and feelings." As the adults prepared to head back to the house, Lily remained for a few more minutes alone with Ravi. The bull stood quietly beside her, his presence a comforting constant in her healing world. "Thank you," she whispered to him, pressing her forehead against his warm neck, "for helping me remember that my voice matters, for showing me that even when people think we're broken, we can still be beautiful and worthy of love." Ravi's gentle rumble seemed to say thank you in return, for her courage, for her voice, for the second chance at life that her bravery had given him. As Lily finally stood to join her mother, she carried with her the knowledge that would guide the rest of her life, that voices raised in defense of the voiceless have the power to change the world, one saved life at a time. The story of a mute child and a condemned bull had become a testament to the truth that even the smallest voice, when filled with love and courage, can speak louder than hatred and fear. And in the golden Montana sunset, both the girl and the bull had found their way home, to healing, to purpose, and to the unshakable knowledge that their unlikely friendship had made the world a little more just.